Hey everyone, Arthur Morris here. Hope all is well. In this video, we're going to continue to look at rationalizing a denominator, but this time we have a binomial in our denominator. So we have to use the conjugate rule to undo or to remove that radical from our denominator. So remember, conjugates is the same thing as the difference of squares. So we're going to use that rule there. A plus b times a minus b equals a squared minus b squared. So whatever we have in our denominator, like in this one, we have 3 times the square root of 2 minus 3. We're going to multiply by the conjugate of our denominator. In this case, will be 3 times the square root of 2 plus 3. So it may be helpful to use parentheses here. And again, whatever we do in our denominator, we must do in our numerator. So whatever we multiply by in our denominator, we have to multiply by the same thing in the numerator. So we multiply by the conjugate. All right, so now we have 4 times 3 times the square root of 2 plus 3, and 3 times the square root of 2 minus 3 times 3 times the square root of 2 plus 3 in our denominator there. All right, so in our numerator, we just use our distributive property like we have before. So we'll distribute the 4 to each one of these, and notice that the 4 is not underneath the radical. So when I multiply times 3 times the square root of 2, I will multiply times the 3 to get 12 times the square root of 2. And then 4 times 3 is 12. In our denominator, we're going to use our difference of squares rule. So it'll be the first number squared minus the second number squared. Okay, so let's continue. Just gonna go beneath here. So I'm gonna keep my numerator like it is for right now. In my denominator, I'm going to square these. So remember, we have to square the 3 and we have to square the 2. So let's write that out. Okay, so in my numerator, I have 12 times the square root of 2 plus 12. In my denominator, I have 3 squared, which is 9. The square root of 2 squared, which is just 2, minus 3 squared, which is 9. Okay, so now 9 times 2 is 18, and 18 minus 9 is 9. Now, if I look at the outside number for this radical, the number in my denominator, and the number over here, they all have a common factor of what? Of 3. So I can simplify this by dividing each one of those by 3. So that's the same thing as factoring out of 3 like we did previously. Since they have a common factor, it's the same thing as factoring out of 3 from each one of those and then simplifying. So you see that would allow me to cancel that 3 with that 3. And end up with 4 times the square root of 2 plus 4 all over 3. Let's see, I can get most of it all on one page there so you can see it. All right, so we started off by multiplying by the conjugate, and then we went through simplifying. So once we multiply by the conjugate, we use the a squared minus b squared rule, and then we just simplified everything. All right, so let's take a look at another problem like that one. All right, so I have 5 over 4 times the square root of 2 minus 2. All right, so I need to multiply by the conjugate of my denominator. Which means I'm just going to change the sign in between the numbers. So since it was a minus over here in my original problem, I'm going to multiply by the same numbers but a plus. Same binomial but a plus in between. Alrighty, so in my numerator now, I'm going to use my distributive property. I'll go ahead and write it out. So we have 5 times 4 times the square root of 2 plus 2. And then in my denominator, I have the conjugate. All right, so now I'm going to use my distributive property in my numerator. So again, the 5 is not underneath the radical, so I'll multiply it times the 4 and then times that 2. So 5 times 4 gives me 20. Times the square root of 2 plus 10. And then in my denominator, I want to use where I have a plus b times a minus b. It's going to be the first number squared minus the second number squared. And I'm going to go ahead and separate this. So it's 4 times the square root of 2 squared. So 4 squared, the square root of 2 squared minus 2 squared. So 4 times the square root of 2 squared, and I just went ahead and separated and squared the 4 and the square root of 2 separately, minus 2 squared. Sorry about that. Okay, so now we have 4 squared is 16. The square root of 2 squared is 2. And then a regular 2 squared, 2 times 2 is 4. Alrighty. So now we have 16 times 2 is 32. 32 minus 4 is 28. So again, I look for the common, see if the three numbers, the 10, the 20, and the 28, those whole numbers, see if they have a common factor. And they do. All three of them have a common factor of 2. So I can divide each one of those by 2. And you don't have to show the step of factoring. You can just simply divide each one of those numbers by 2 and finish your problem out. But I'll go ahead and show where I'm getting this from. So I'm factoring out the 2. That means I divided 20 by 2, or 20 times the square root of 2 by 2, which gives me 10 times the square root of 2. Divided 10 by 2, which gives me 5. And then here, I can break that down to 2 times 14. So now I can cancel those 2's out that I just highlighted. And 10 times the square root of 2 plus 5 all over 14. Alrighty, let's try one more of these. If you want to pause the video and try it, that's fine. In this problem, we have 7 over 3 times the square root of 2 plus 1. So this time, we want our conjugate is 3 times the square root of 2 minus 1. All right, so we have to make sure when we multiply by the conjugate that we change the sign in the middle here. So let's see here. We got 3 times the square root of 2 minus 1. And then we'll go through the same process. So in the numerator, we want to distribute 7 or multiply by 7. In the denominator, let's, okay. Like so. So now we want to distribute the 7, and then in our denominator use the a plus b times a minus b rule, which says the result is the first number squared minus the second number squared. So 7 times 3 is 21 times the square root of 2. 7 times 1 is 7. So minus 7 here. And then the first number squared. Minus the second number squared. So 3 times the square root of 2 squared. And I'm going to write it like you would normally see it, but you know that you're going to have to square each one of those. So 3 times the square root of 2 squared minus 1 squared. All right, so now let's work with our denominator to simplify that, clean that up some. So 3 squared is 9. The square root of 2 squared is 2. Minus 1 squared, and 1 squared is 1. All right. So 9 times 2 is 18. 18 minus 1 is 17. We do not have a common factor between those three numbers, so 21, 17, and 7. So I would stop there. Alrighty, I hope you found this video to be helpful. Thank you.